Hello there, everyone. Good Monday morning to you. Patricia Hayes here, ready for our coffee time career chat. And let's make sure we're up and going and sharing properly. Here we go. We are going to share over to the group. Here we go. There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Man, anybody else feeling like woo-saw already and it's just Monday morning? So we are going to be continuing our conversation about making empowered moves because that is the theme for this month. But before I get any further, let me refresh for those of you who are joining for the very first time. My name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And I am here with our Coffee Time Career Chat that has been going on for, I think we're officially at just about at a year now. And I'm so excited to be continuing and working and talking with you all via this format as we slowly begin to open up. It's still important for us to connect, and that was the whole point, is to be able to connect and chat about things that affect us in our personal careers, lives, but in a way that you might have coffee with someone, over the course of time. Just go in, have a quick chit chat, maybe go wandering off into other things. And so we've done that this time. And then, hi Shamiko. And then making sure to kind of bring it back together so that it can be focused, so it can be something that we can actually talk about and utilize and put into practice for our lives and our careers, like hopefully right away. That's always my intention. It's not for it to be some randomness, but that it's something that you can implement in your lives right away, or ask me more questions and we can talk about it some more and see what happens. So that is the point of coffee time. I'm super excited to be continuing. This week we are talking about being empowered to dream. As we continue this theme of making empowered moves when you're trying to get to the next level of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, whether it's a professional goal, achieving completing a project, getting a new promotion, changing jobs, it doesn't matter what it is. The bottom line is there are certain things you have to do, right? That you have to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, even physically for that shift. And when you're doing that, one of the things that's key is it comes down to a lot of times we're creating stuff literally out of our head, right? It doesn't exist yet for us. So that means you have to have that power and ability to dream about what's next for you and feeling like you have that power and ability to do it so that you can take the next steps that are required for you to actually achieve that goal. So that gets us to the first question that we have to ask before we get into some of the points for today is, what does it mean to be empowered, right? And you all know me, I'm dictionary geek girl. So I want to go do it because I just, as opposed to just going what we think or feel like, what does it actually mean? And so it was funny when I went and checked it out on this one, Empower, and it was talking about giving a power to someone, giving authority to someone, enabling and permitting them. Okay, that's kind of cool. But then I loved how the fact that power was embedded in the definition, right? And so ultimately it takes you down this little pathway to go figure out what that means. And it's basically about, providing strength, giving authority to, and that enabling piece. And recognize here, this is the piece that's super important, is that power and authority doesn't have to come from someone else. That power and authority can come from within. Catch that, okay? Let that soak in. You don't have to wait for someone else to empower you. You can take the steps to empower yourself. Yes. And that is what makes this so beautiful. Because as long as you have the mindset, as long as you have the will, as long as you're willing to do the inner work to get there, you can build up that strength. You can build up that power to give yourself the authority and the ability to step into that next part of you. Now, does that mean you're doing it all by yourself? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But a lot of it does have to start with you. And as you start to dream about what's possible, that's that piece that gets really kind of tricky, right? Because we're trying to get to this next level. We're trying to go do something that we've never done before. Perhaps we've never, worked with anyone or come in contact with someone who's done this before. And you're just kind of like, who am I? Who am I to think that I can make this happen? And so that's what we're going to talk about, what that foundation looks like, of why it is not just okay, but more than okay for you to set those dreams and goals for yourself, and how you can feed those dreams and goals and build up that strength from within in order to know that these things are possible for you. Okay, to support those dreams. Because otherwise, it's really easy for some Nelly naysayer to come along like, oh, who does she think she is to be trying to do that? No one has time for that, right? Let them take their little negative self on somewhere else, because we have things to do. Bottom line. Okay, all right. So first of all, one of the things that I think is really important is you have to look for those empowering moments from your past. As we are going along in our lives, it is so easy and common, particularly for women, to forget about the things from the past that are good. Notice how I did the caveat there. That are good. We are fantastic at remembering everything horrible that happened from the past. Of nitpicking on when we made a mistake, or blowing something completely out of proportion when there was, yes, it may have been a mistake or a consequence of some previous action, but perhaps it really doesn't deserve the brain power that we gave to it, but we give it a lot of brain power. What we don't give a lot of brain power to are those moments when we have oh crap, I did that. Right? We don't remember those as often. We don't seek to remember those. We don't, unless something comes up and it's kind of like accidental. And then we try to, whisk it away. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a fluke or whatever. No flukes. So what I want you to make sure you do, and you got to have your handy dandy journal. I don't care which kind you use. I have journals for everything. I always tell y'all that. But what I want you to do is literally to grab a journal, and I want you to remember and take the time to breathe and sit and look into your past for some empowering moments. What do those look like? Well, first of all, it doesn't have to be this big giant thing where you overcame half the world, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. If you have some moments like that, fantastic. But that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you got on the phone with a rude salesperson, let's say, and you were able to talk them down, speak to a supervisor, to do something to overcome that situation, to address it in a way where you didn't lose your cool, you didn't go yelling and cussing and screaming at someone, you just handled your business. That is an empowering moment. And I want you to write that down, right? How about the moment when someone was perhaps treating your child poorly? Whether it's out on the, sports field, at a dance convention, something like that, and you spoke up for your child or someone else's child, huh? We do that too. that is an empowering moment. We have nuggets of this all along, and it doesn't have to be relegated just to our professional life. Remember, we are not flat Stanleys. We are three-dimensional beings. So trying to say, oh, well, that was when I was, yes, of course I would defend my child or speak up for my niece or whatever, because that was a personal matter. That doesn't help me in my career. Guess what? You're the same person. So that power that you found, that ability that you found to speak up on someone else's behalf, guess what? You can do that same thing for yourself in your career, okay? Moving forward, in a project, in a situation, okay? When you speak up. And when you start thinking about that, when you sit back, there should be a rush of these little moments that just suddenly come to your remembrance. Or perhaps it'll come over the course of like some hours and some days. But I want you to jot them down. I want you to write them down so that you can grab those and to really sit with them about what made them such an empowering moment, right? Maybe you spoke up in a way that you normally don't. Maybe you're not that person, but you did this time because you were really upset and you knew there was a wrong that was being affected. Or maybe it was when you spoke up in the past for a raise that you know that you deserved, and you made note of that, okay? So whatever those things are, I want you to write them down with nothing. It doesn't have to be expansive, just enough for it to tickle that memory, for you to think about it, to generate those feelings, to generate those thoughts. And then to say, yeah, that was real super empowering because, I wasn't going to be walked on that day. And I wasn't, right? When you take that, you're looking for that pattern and you're realizing that from your past, you have exhibited the characteristics, the behavior, those things that are aligned with someone who can achieve the dream that you're seeking to achieve. It's not something that you're having to conjure up out of nowhere in order to get there. That's the story that we tell ourselves, that, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to be able to do this? Like, I've never done this before, so how am I going to get there? Well, it may be true that you've never done the thing before, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the skills and the background and the foundation that you need to build to get there. If we didn't do things because we've never done them before, we would never do anything. Never. Never, right? So remember that that's just this limiting thought belief that, there we go. So y'all see how we have lovely interruptions that are not supposed to happen. Oh my goodness. The things that just happen. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sip of coffee. So if you're catching this later, there's a lovely little call ringing through. I have no idea how it made it through my little block, but that's what modern technology does. Things that's not supposed to do, even when you set things up properly. Okay. All right. So that's number one. Look for those empowering moments from your past that can feed you and give you the strength that you need as you seek to dream about this new thing, this new opportunity, this new way of life even, okay? All right, that's number one. Number two, look for those empowering moments daily right now. Now, you may say, Patricia, that's kind of obvious. Absolutely it is, and we forget, which is why I'm mentioning it, all right? We forget and we get caught up in the crisis of the moment, the situation of the day, the just daily grind of things, that we don't sit back to think about what it really is that we're doing, okay? And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. So that right now, so after you've done the exercise of thinking about things that have happened in the past, now it's time to start capturing those things that are happening daily for you right now. Right now, how are you walking and living in an empowered way each and every day. Again, we're not looking for mind-boggling breakthroughs. We're looking for that moment when you really wanted to just like have a screaming hissy fit and you had the control not to do that. And you spoke to that person in a civil tone, and you maintained your cool so that you can get done whatever it was you needed to get done today. Okay? It's so, I just got chills when you think about that, because that was a real situation I'm thinking about for myself, like in recent weeks. And it's like, whew, those empowering moments, okay, on the daily. How they feed into what your goals are for the future is because you can use that authority, that power, those skills that you're utilizing right now today to feed your dream. So that being empowered to dream is not so far off. It's not some crazy, whimsical, possibility. It's a real thing. And, when you turn a dream into a goal, that is powerful. I'm jumping ahead of myself. But, so think about those things that are happening on the daily, okay? Professionally, personally. Professionally, it could really be that, you're engaging in these meetings on the daily basis, and you're making sure to speak up in a meeting when there's something that's not quite right. Okay, or providing information that others aren't aware of, but that adds to the conversation. That's an empowering moment, because so many people, especially now, would use the camera as an excuse to hide and to stay back. But you're not doing that. You're speaking up. You're still staying engaged. Guess what? That is an empowering moment. Okay, so it doesn't have to be complicated. And I know I'm being repetitive here, but that's the thing I'm really trying to stress. It does not have to be complicated. It just has to be you. Okay, and that you walk in that and you're living in that daily, and how you can bring that forward, which gets us to point number 3, which is about us being empowered to dream forward. So here's the thing. One of the things that is absolutely required in order for you to move your dream from this ethereal thing to a real thing and aligning goals with it to make it happen is that we have to remove those imaginary constraints that we put on ourselves and on the dream. All right? Now, imaginary. Why do I say imaginary? Because they're not real. We've created them in our head based on some other past situations. It's like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to achieve that dream because, I didn't have enough money to do this, 6 months ago. So how can I think I'm going to have the funds to do that in 12 months? Okay. So on one hand, does there seem to be some logic to that? Perhaps. But how are you going to project what happened 6 months ago onto what's possible for 12 months from now? Right? Do you see how you would be limiting using your past experience to limit your future growth? Man, that's good. Let's write that down and repeat that. Don't use your past, experiences to limit your future growth. I love it when those things just pop off, right? Okay, that's the key. And that's a daily journey. That's why that really stuck with me, because that rings true for me, right? I have these great, fantastic, y'all can't see my board over here of all these things that I have going on that I would want to accomplish, and they need to be updated. But the thing is, some of those things on that board have been done. They've been done. Like, there's a huge piece of it that's related to me getting my website revamped, which meant me updating some various things or whatever. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, that's been done. And there are a couple of things that haven't been done yet. And I'm like, yes, but that could be motivation to keep going. Okay? Because guess what? I've gotten some things done and they didn't exist before. I didn't have the funds for that X number of months ago. I didn't know who I was going to use, but I put that work in. I, had conversations, took a leap of faith, and voila, here we are. So that's a little plug to go check out the updated website. There's still some new things being added, but I'm super excited. It's beautiful. Shout out to my lovely Julia for that work. Okay, so think about what is it that you're using as an excuse or a crutch, let's just name it for what it is, to keep you from moving forward, to keep you from dreaming forward about whatever it is you're trying to achieve in your life. All right, get those constraints out. Now, does that mean that those aren't potential roadblocks or obstacles along the way? No, I'm not saying that at all, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. People have funding issues all the time. Okay, fine. I don't have the money for that right now, but I didn't have the money when I was trying to do XYZ. So let me just go figure out how that's going to happen because I'm going to make this happen. Okay? Those are the things we're talking about. So don't use them as an excuse or a crutch. Recognize them for what they are, for potential challenges, for potential obstacles, but don't lay the brick in your path and then say, oh, I can't get over it. It's like, well, of course you can, because you just laid it out there in front of you. You didn't even wait for someone else to toss it for you. You just did it for them. Don't do other people's work for them. All right? Okay? You got too much to do. You have too much to do. The other thing is, a part of this is we have to get out of our comfort zone about what can happen next. What does that mean? Well, when we're moving forward, we may think that, oh, okay, a piece of that dream is realistic. And so that's why you may be like, okay, I'm okay with maybe thinking about the rest of it because this piece of it is good. And so that piece you're comfortable with, right? Because you can see it. You have experienced it. All right. That is fine and dandy, but don't stay there. Because what can happen? Oh my gosh, this reminds me of a conversation I had with a client. Oh gosh, it was a few months ago. It's been this year. But they were talking about, I really, I'm a little confused about a few things because I set some goals for myself and I thought it would take me X, amount of time. So let's say they thought it was going to take them a year to get it accomplished. She goes, but I got it done in about 6 months. And now I'm just like, well, now I'm wondering if I set the right goals. And I just looked at her, I'm like, oh, you set the right goals. You just set them too low. And she's like, what? I'm like, you set the right goals, but they were too low. You didn't press yourself hard enough. And it was like, whoosh. That thought of like, wow. And she's like, I never thought of it that way. So it's not a matter of, oh, I set these goals. Well, gosh, I got them. And so maybe, you're kind of disappointed. No. That's when I'm talking about getting out of your comfort zone. If you know that you can do 9 of 10 of the things that are on that job description, yeah, you're comfortable applying for it. And while it's quote a reach because it's something new, you haven't done it before, but you feel comfortable because you've met those 9 out of 10 things, right? This is a thing that women do all the time. There's research, don't even argue with me about it. Women are notorious for doing this when it comes to applying for new jobs. Whereas men might have 3 to 5 things. I'm like, hey, you know what? I think I'll try for that. Where a woman would never do that. If they don't feel like they meet all the criteria, most of the time women will not go after a position. because it's outside their comfort zone. So here's the thing I'm challenging you to do. So maybe one of the things is looking for a new position, new opportunity, so that instead of waiting and seeing if 9 up to 10 things line up, how about you say, well, you know what? I got 3 or 5 of them. Why not? What's the worst thing that can happen? That they tell you no? They could tell you no with the 9 of the 10. So why wouldn't you go ahead and push yourself that extra little bit and go for something that you don't really know, but you know that it's within the dream, it's within the reach of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. That's what I mean about getting out of that comfort zone of what can happen next. Don't stick with the 9 out of 10. Go for the 3 to 5. 5 out of 10, right? And that's not about lowering your expectations. It's actually about increasing your confidence and about what it is you can do, because you're like, you know what? If my resume or my abilities look the same as this other person over there, why shouldn't I not be able to pursue that opportunity? If it's something that you want, not because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses or anything like that, but because it's something that you want, don't limit yourself. Okay? And as you're doing this, as you're dreaming forward, here's where the power comes in. Because now you're going to dip back and you're going to look at those empowering moments from your past. You're going to look at those empowering moments that you're collecting daily so that you can use those to help you see the possibilities for what is next. So that you can gain that strength from those things to say, I may not know exactly what's going to happen or that I'm definitely prepared for that, but here are the things that I have done up until this point that gives me the confidence to know that I'm prepared to deal with whatever that thing presents to me. That is being empowered to dream. Okay? That is it. All right, let me see. Let me check and make sure that I don't have any questions here. I don't see any. If you're watching, because it's always hard. If you have a couple questions, I have a little bit of time for that. But I just wanted to share that with you because it's so important, especially as we come off the back end, hopefully, of this pandemic. People will be a little skittish. And what I want to encourage you to do is to move past that. Recognize it for what it is. It's very much common and expected, but don't let it limit you from pursuing your dreams in this new environment moving forward. All right. And if you're having some difficulty making that shift, that's what I'm here for. All right. So I am here for you. If you need a consult, we can schedule that. We can get you up on a phone or a Zoom call, and we can chat for about 20 minutes, kind of figure out where you are and what your needs are and how you can move forward. Because it's a new quarter and it is time to bring in some new VIP intensive time. So if you are where you need some, I won't say quick coaching because I don't do quick coaching, but intensive coaching for a limited time frame to address a particular issue, that's what the VIP intensive moments, career intensives are about. 2, 4, 6 hours, basically, so couple of hours, half a day, full day, basically is what it amounts to. And we can get you situated. And or, talk about if you want to get engaged for a longer term commitment. So I'm here for that. I'm super excited about everything that's coming forward. I encourage you to go check out the updated website at patriciavhayes.com. And I look forward to checking in with you all later. All right. Take care, and I will talk with you later. Bye-bye.